Good early evening, Big Brother fans. It is me, Mike, and I am out walking my dog, and I have been watching the live feeds, I kid you not, all freaking day long. Obviously not during nominations, but that was just over an hour. After that, I've been going all day long, and I finally said, you know what? I got to go do something. My wife's she ran out to do some stuff with some friends, and I had the day off of work, and so I'm like, I'm going to catch up after being on vacation, and so I did that, and I am feeling it right now. I mean, I've done nothing, absolutely nothing today other than watch the live feeds. Not good. This won't continue, obviously, but it certainly was a way to do a deep dive into the house guests and get to know a lot of them. And so I took my dog named Zoe out for a walk because I haven't gotten my steps in. And I've been really good the last couple months about trying to get, if possible, getting 10,000 steps in a day. Well, you know how many steps in I have today so far? I'm kidding you not. As I walk, 957. I do not think I'm going to get 10,000 steps in. But we're going to do what we can. And so I've got to do some walking here before it gets dark. It is almost 9 o'clock in Big Brother land. But it stays in my part of Indiana, but it stays light here late because we started observing daylight savings time with the East Coast a few years ago. And so it'll stay light here until at least 9:30, if not later. And so I'll do a few laps, or at least a couple laps around this park while we talk. And I don't know what you can hear, but I just had to do a doo-doo pickup of the dog. So the dog has taken her at least one little relief moment. She usually is good for two or one. It just depends. We'll see. But let's talk about Big Brother, right? We're already 2.5 minutes in, and I haven't talked a lick really about Big Brother. So I'm hoping this sounds okay. I'm actually on a wired connection because for some reason this app does not work with the Bluetooth. And so normally I hold the microphone up to my mouth, but I tested this and this seems to be okay. So we're going to try this out, and hopefully you can hear me clearly and not too many other extraneous noises. Big Brother. Well, where did I leave you? This morning I recorded one. I'm not kidding you. I already recorded one earlier today. I have been watching nonstop since then. And I don't know exactly when I recorded it. Yeah, that's good, Mike. I'm not sure where things stood. Although I can tell you this much. It was before nominations. And that's what we were trying to figure out. What the heck is going to go on with nominations? And now we're post-nominations and post-hours of head of household meetings. And yeah, so I can do a little bit of a recap for you. And I don't think much is going to change between now and the power of veto tomorrow. But that really depends on if someone gets into Frenchie's ear. There's one person that really needs to make an effort to get into his ear. Let's talk about all this. All right, so regardless of where I last left you, we didn't know who Frenchie was going to nominate. Nobody really knew. No one was really sure. We actually were kind of like, well, it sounds like Alyssa and Sarah might be in trouble. All right? That's where most people were like, that's what we think might happen. But that's not what happened. So the feeds went down. When they came back up, turns out that Alyssa was nominated, but so was Kyland, which I don't think any of us saw coming. We did not think Kyland was going to be the second nomination. And actually, if I remember right when the feeds came back, we had Alyssa talking to people downstairs and Kyland up in the head of household room with Frenchie as Frenchie was trying to explain his reasoning. Now, there's not a whole lot of sense in dwelling on this stuff too much because it changes from where I'm at now to where we're going to get to. And I'm sure that the TV show will show bits and pieces of this. But the gist of it is, is that according to Frenchie, if he's to be believed, he kept talking about the big fish. He really wanted Christian out. He was under the impression that Christian was gunning for him through what some people would say false information or inaccurate information. And so he had this built in his brain, though, that Christian is coming for me. I got to get rid of Christian. Well, Christian was safe because of the wild card competition. And yet, it seems that Frenchie seemed to think that there was something special going to happen with this power of veto. And he kind of spelled it out at one point. I think he said he thought maybe we had diamond power veto. He thought maybe, that the power veto winner would get to do more than just save themselves. They might be able to do more damage. I think they've already got enough going on right now to throw in more wrinkles. But Frenchie, when you're in that mindset, when you're overthinking and overanalyzing, which Frenchie certainly is doing, that's where he was at as far as his mindset goes. So Frenchie is saying all this stuff to Kylan, telling him, you're safe. I want to win the power veto. I want to put it around your neck, or you're going to win it. I need a strong competitor beside me. I want to make sure that she, being Alyssa, does not win the power veto because she's my target, is what he was saying in essence. Kind of. He really wouldn't quite say that either. He kind of hinted that he was going to go after somebody else, and he kind of let Kylan think that maybe it was Derek X, but not really. He said, no, he's not the big fish, but he wouldn't say Christian, and Christian is not eligible. So it was almost like, I mean, if you're in Frenchie's shoes, which I don't want, I'm glad I'm not in Frenchie's shoes, but if you were, and you're trying to explain to someone that they're not really your target, but their real target isn't eligible to be nominated, that's not going to go over very well. It's not going to give you, it's still a lot of faith in you that your head of household has your best interest in mind. So, Frenchie is kind of hemming and hawing about all this, but he tells Kylan, you're not my target, blah, 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 and sends him on his way, and he goes downstairs and talks to people and gets reassured by people downstairs that he's okay, and they're like, we've got your back and that kind of thing. And then Alyssa comes up and she's like, all right, what's going on? I don't understand how this happened. Why am I the target? And again, I am oversimplifying this, but there's just no point in going through all of it. Frenchie eventually basically says, yes, you're nominated because I was trying to go after Christian. So I'm trying to take away some of his base. And she goes and gets Christian, and she says, yeah, this is your fault. I'm nominated because of you. And he comes back in the room, and this is a moment that they may or may not show, and they probably won't. But Christian is back. Christian is in the at a household room with Alyssa because he wants to talk to both of them, and Frenchie is there. I don't know where Frenchie was. Frenchie was all over the place. So Frenchie isn't in the room, and they're talking, and Christian is just like, so I would have been nominated if I hadn't won. And she goes, yeah, she kind of nodded her head or something. He says, well, it's a good thing I won. And she's like, yeah, congratulations. Because she's nominated because he won. So, anyways, they wait. Frenchie comes back. They talk, and Frenchie kind of, I don't know, man. He talks in circles. He talks forever. And he's like, yes, I nominated you as a way to get it at Christian. And Christian's like, why are you coming at me? What do you think is going on? Frenchie's explaining how he feels like he's heard that Christian was gunning for him. Christian's like, I haven't done anything, and he accused both of them of trying to get involved in alliances and lists. It's like, I didn't form any alliance. The only people I've worked with have been my team members. That's it. There's been no talk of alliances. But in Frenchie's mind, he's pretty sure that he's heard alliance talk involving her. So I keep saying long story short. Will this be a long story? Alyssa gets, Frenchie goes and gets more people, and then more people. And at one point we had 8 people in the room. And he brings in, did I mention the 4-person alliance earlier in the day? This may have come up after I did my initial thing. There's a 4-person alliance as a team member, one of each team member. I may or may not have mentioned it. It was Frenchie, Travis, Xavier, and Brent. This is an unnamed 4-person alliance. And they seem like they might be solid with each other. It's hard telling on which who's most loyal in which one of these alliances. But he brings in Brent. He brings in his team members. So he brings in. So Frenchie has in Azah, Derek Frazier, and who else? Who am I missing here, guys? Come on, help me. Azah, Derek Frazier. Missing another female. Azah, Derek Frazier. Oh, and how can I forget Brittany? Brittany in there. Now, it turns out that the reason I thought of this just now was because I was thinking of Brittany. According to Frenchie, he told his 4-person alliance on the side that Brittany's been bringing him all kinds of information. So Brittany is a font of information for Frenchie, and she seems to be contributing to his paranoia. And she sounds like she's one of the ones that made it sound like Christian was gunning for Frenchie, whether it was legit or not. But it's funny. She has all these people, or Frenchie has all these people in the room, and he asks his team. He says, "Have any of you heard them talk about alliances?" And here we go again. Derek immediately says, "No, I never heard them mention alliances." And then Brittany was like, "I don't know. Let me think. And she never really answered the question. And a follow-up to that much later on in the conversations after Brittany has left, Frenchie tells Alyssa that Brittany knew more than she was telling, implying that Brittany was throwing Chris under the bus quite a bit, but wouldn't do it with Chris in the room. But through all of these conversations with Alyssa and Christian in the room, as one would expect happens when nominations are made kind of on the last name heard, kind of talked to, thought about kind of a thing, because that's what it seemed to be, it would appear that Frenchie kind of got like, I don't know, I feel, and he's like, do you think, and this is one of the points, Frenchie's like, do you think that maybe people are getting these rumors going and making me think you were coming for me, Christian, because they're afraid of you and I together being a unstoppable force? What is Christian going to say? Of course, yes, of course, that's the problem. That's what it is. It's not me gunning for you, it's other people. And in the end, it ended up being Brent throwing Derek X under the bus. Derek X was in trouble last night. We kind of thought he was going to be a target, and then that disappeared overnight. But this whole conversation this afternoon circled back to Derek X. So over the course of these 2 or 3 hours worth of conversations in the head of household room, Derek X became more prominent and more prominent, to the point where Frenchie's kind of like, all right, now I want to save you guys and work with you. Both of you. Before he actually said to Alyssa, hang on, I need to call up my dog. Come here. Come here. He was telling, he wasn't saying he wanted to work with them. I'm getting a bit confused now. I'm looking at other dogs across the way that I have to collar mine up. He was telling Alyssa at one point during these conversations that she was his target, that Kylan was a pawn. And she's like, okay, what's going on here? But by the end, she wanted both of them. He wanted both of them to help her go after Derek. So that's where we're at now. He is now targeting Derek. Okay, sorry. I had to leash up my pooch. I usually let her walk without a leash, but there's some other dogs in the park that I can see. And while she's an extremely well-behaved dog, it is always nice to have your dog on a leash in case the other dogs start coming your way. You can help guide her elsewhere. So there's 3, looks like white Labradors. I don't know what kind of, maybe they're golden labs. I'm not sure. Back to my story. So now Frenchie seems to be of the mindset that he wants to target Derek X. And he's telling all the people, and I'm not kidding you, half the house is in the room. He's telling the people, we can't let him know this is the plan. We have to now make sure that the house guests, that Derek doesn't know what's going on. We will throw the, we'll make sure that they win the power veto competition, that Derek never has a chance to play for it, or that he doesn't win it if he does play for it. And then we will backdoor him, and this will be a good thing. And so that is the going plan. And I'm going to pause again for a second as I'm getting close to people with dogs. And just as I said, my well-behaved dog is carried on her way. So crisis averted. We've got the half the house plotting on how to make sure Derek X gets nominated now. And, Frenchie is just like, you can't tell. We can't let him know this is going to happen. Some of the house guests leave, including Brent was one of the ones up in the room. And who was one of the ones who actually really shoved Derek under the bus. And now he goes downstairs and he's talking to Derek. And I did not catch the beginning of the conversation, but he basically said, oh yeah, this is what's going on upstairs, implying that you're okay or things or something like that. But he says, but you may be a backdoor target. It was like, are you kidding me? He is 100% doing exactly what Frenchie said not to do by letting him know that Frenchie may be targeting him. So now Derek's like, okay, what am I going to do? He's in a panic downstairs. While upstairs, Frenchie is still talking to people about all of this plan and all this and making plans and all kinds of things. And eventually, Brent ends up back up in the room. And I can't even remember the ins and outs of all of this now. But the long and the short of it is, Derek Fraser, actually gave Derek X some advice and told him, you need to go up and state your case. And Derek X seemed a little bit like, oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. He's busy. And he's like, dude, you got to save yourself. You got to get up there. You can't wait around. And, of course, Derek Fraser was in the room at the same time as Brent. I don't know what Derek Fraser is thinking. If he's thinking, wow, Brent just doesn't keep his mouth shut. Or if he just kind of let it go. But as of this talking, when I last looked, Derek X has yet to talk to Frenchie. Frenchie's actually, I think, at one point said he doesn't want to be alone with Derek X. I can see why, because Frenchie seems to be fairly easily influenced. And I don't know what he'll do if Derek gets alone with them, because he promised Derek X that he was safe. He promised him that he was giving him a second chance for all these other things, these transgressions that Frenchie feels that Derek has brought upon him in the last couple of days, where he felt Derek was saying things and plotting against him. I don't know, man. It is crazy. It is crazy. The feeds are all over the place. You throw into the mix the other house guests that are still plotting and talking. Actually haven't seen a whole lot of Claire. She's been pretty quiet. Haven't seen a lot of Whitney. She's been pretty quiet. And other than Brittany's appearance, I hadn't seen a whole lot of her, and she's not impressing me right now. But that's not a complete surprise either. What else to tell you guys? Because now it's been almost 20 minutes. Just know that the targets are, at this point, Frenchie's target is currently Derek X, even though that wasn't his target when he made his nominations. He didn't want anything to change and he wanted to get Alyssa out. But now he is, I'm not kidding you, at the point where really, actually, he wants to look at, well, Chris is suggesting, Chris and Frenchie have kind of bonded maybe not even mended, because I don't think Chris knew there was a problem, but Chris seems to have slid his way right into Frenchie's friendship zone. Actually, what do I want to say? What's the term Frenchie's using? Finessing. Chris has finessed Frenchie. That seems to be the word that's maybe popular this year. He finessed me. I don't know why. Misting would be a better term than finessing, but okay. You get the point. Frenchie may have been finessed by Chris, and so now Christian is in Frenchie's good graces and may stay there. We'll have to see, because apparently Christian may have been part of the, quote, slaughterhouse/butcher. I still haven't got the breakdown of this correct yet, okay? They talked about Christian. So we were down to, in the head of household room, Christian, Kyland, and Frenchie. And they were talking about this Slaughterhouse Alliance and this Butcher Alliance, all right? Now, the way I understand it, the Butcher Alliance is a subset of the Slaughterhouse Alliance. And there was a joke last night that half the house is in the Slaughterhouse Alliance. So I don't know who all is technically in the Slaughterhouse Alliance. I'm only going to go by this one conversation that I listened to, which seemed to imply that the members of the Butcher, of the inner circle of the Slaughterhouse Alliance, is Frenchie, Kyland, Christian, Xavier, and Derek Frazier. Those seem to be the 5 main members of the Butcher Alliance, or the 5 members of the Butcher Alliance. Now, Christian had suggested adding Alyssa to the Slaughterhouse Alliance, and Frenchie seems to be suggesting adding Brent to the Slaughterhouse Alliance, because Christian feels Brent is extremely reliable and loyal, even though, have we mentioned that Brent outed Derek, told Derek X exactly what Frenchie said not to do? So I don't know how reliable he really is. There was another comedic moment, in my opinion, by the way, where early on, when Frenchie was feeling a little bit bad about nominating Alyssa, he said he would let Christian, he would choose Christian for house guest choice for the power of veto, so that Christian could potentially win it and save Alyssa. Fast forward an hour later, hour and a half later, whatever it was, with Christian and Alyssa in the room, Frenchie announced that he was going to pick Brent to play if he got house guest choice, because he's so loyal. I don't know. Christian seemed to let it go. Maybe he's playing smarter than I would. I said, wait, you said I could. What happened to that? It was just another moment of, okay, whatever. Hold on a second while I get to get another doggy bag, because my pooch did his too, and you just have to have one for insurance. So, we're now at 23 minutes of me walking. I have walked one circuit, 2,500 steps. Technically, I need to do 4 of these if I wanted to get. I'm at 3,200 steps. 3,200 steps. All right. I don't know if I want to be able to do 2 more or not. I'm certainly not going to make you suffer through 2 more of these, because that was 23 minutes. Yeah, you're not going to get 23. You're not going to get another 45 minutes of me talking, big brother. I can't do that by myself. But as you can see, I can talk a lot. So this Slaughterhouse Alliance, so you got the Butchers, as I said, the 5. Then you have a Slaughterhouse Alliance, which, again, multiple people have been announced that they were told about it or been in it, or I don't even know if Frenchie knows how many are in it. But the ones that I know of that I've heard talked about just now would be the 5 Butchers, and then Brent and Alyssa. But I have a suspicion there's going to be more than that. And they talked about it, but Frenchie said not more than 3 more. I don't think he wants an alliance bigger than 8. That is half the house, after all. And we'll see how, if anything ever comes of that. They were talking about having a meeting later on tonight to confirm all of that. We'll see how that goes. That could all, and likely will, change between now and then. That led me to try to figure out, what the hell is Frenchie doing as far as alliances? How many alliances is Frenchie actually in? And I do not have a good count. Although I did do a quick and dirty alliance chart based on what I have seen today, and what Dolfica, Dolffica. I think that's her username. She does her alliance charts, and I knew that she had Frenchie in at least one, and it was one called the Parent Alliance. Don't know how strong that one really is, but that one formed at some point, at least briefly, yesterday or the day before. So between the Parent Alliance, and that is Tiffany and Whitney, along with Frenchie, they're all the parents in the house. Then you also have what I'm calling, jokingly, the Meat Packer Alliance, it's not a name that we know of, but it's the 4-person alliance, which is Brent and Travis, and Xavier and Frenchie, one person from each team. Then you have the Slaughterhouse Alliance, which includes everybody let's say the Butcher Alliance first, which is, as I said already, Kyland, Christian, Frenchie, Brent. Oh, sorry, not Brent. Oh, yeah. No, not Brent. Kyland, Frenchie, Christian, Derek Frazier, and Xavier. And then you have the Slaughterhouse, which adds on at least Alyssa and Brent, unless that changes. So 4 different alliances. What I did notice about this is that Brent and Xavier are probably the 2 closest allies of Frenchie if you base it on the number of alliances they are involved in together. So remember, at this point, Xavier is aware of 3 of Frenchie's alliances. And yeah, that's it, I think. I think Brent's only aware of 2 because he's aware of the Slaughterhouse and the 4 no name. But he is not aware. Oh, so everybody else is in the slaughter. Everybody that is in the Butchers is technically in 2 alliances, and then Brent is the one who is in 3 different alliances. And the 4th alliance is just with 2 women, and there's no other women other than Tiffany, who hasn't even been formally, I think, invited into the Slaughterhouse yet. So don't hold that one quite as a lock. Does it all make sense? Am I boring you guys endlessly? Have you tuned out? You probably have. But I know there are people, as hard as it can be to believe, most of you that are still listening are those people that like listening to me walk around and talk to myself. So there you have it. I think that's about it. There have been tears shed today. Actually, it's been the guys that have shed the tears. I think Frenchie was shedding tears when he came out right before he did nominations. Kyland has shed tears on a couple of times about being nominated and just about he's struggling, I guess, and I don't know what his medical diagnosis is, but he's mentioned that he's on medication. A lot of the house guests on Big Brother seem to be ADD or ADHD, something like that. Kyland has not specifically said what his medical diagnosis is, and frankly, they usually cut the feeds when they start talking about that kind of stuff, probably because of medical privacy and stuff, and unless they signed a waiver that you can talk about a medical issue, they don't want them to do that. But he's talked about, he's been talking about medicine a couple of times and about focus and pausing to talk, and I can totally relate to most of that stuff. I'm not medicated or anything, but I do definitely have some type of ADHD or ADD going on, as many of you would know based on my multitude of squirrel moments and my struggling to keep focused and to keep on one particular storyline. So Kyland shed some tears today. And then finally, as I was getting ready to head out to take the pooch for a walk, Xavier was actually breaking down. Now, I don't think anybody walked in on him. The other 2 guys were both kind of tearing up in front of people, and so they caught it. I don't think anybody saw Derek sniffling and tearing up, but he was in one of the back bedrooms trying to get it together, man, and so I don't know what upset him, what caught him up, but something did. I am sure that I would be an emotional wreck if I were in that house. And so as I try to wrap things up here, because that's what I do want to do, is kind of wrap things up. There's been a great amount of poking at Frenchie's crazy, wild, all over the place reckless game. There's been a lot of bashing at him for being a, quote, super fan and not playing very well. And all I can say is, I can't say I do any better. So Frenchie will never hear this. I doubt any of Frenchie's fans or friends are hearing this, being I'm 30 minutes in. But just know that even if I poke at Frenchie for his gameplay, I get it. I could see doing it. Because and granted, this is not the same, but because I have played a few online reality games at this point where I'm playing online with friends and computers, or with, quote, friends. You think they're your friends until they backstab you. I can certainly relate to not knowing what's going on, that paranoia of being in one room while other people are talking in another room, and you're worried, and everybody's reassuring you that everything's fine, when in reality they all know that you're the next person to go. I experienced that multiple times playing these online games, and it is a bit of a smack in the face. I actually played the Big Brother the game, the online game, the iOS application, which is at this point probably getting close to wrapping up. I played it twice. That is just like texting other people, and you're just doing it via text and chat, and I got completely blindsided in my second game, and that actually was a worse experience than the playing the online, like Zoom kind of games or Skype kind of a thing. The online, when the day I got blindsided, oh my God, man, I was just a wreck. It just emotionally messed me up because I thought I knew what was going on, and it turned out I had no clue what was going on. So I can sympathize for Frenchie because, he thinks he knows what's going on, but he's also very frustrated and paranoid and trying to figure things out. He says, everybody's coming up into my room. Everyone wants to talk to me. So I get it. In retrospect, I think Frenchie would have said, you know what, I shouldn't have tried so hard to win the first competition. That would be my guess that his answer is going to be later on when he goes back and he analyzes it. Now, if he wins it all, then hey, whatever it takes. But I have a feeling Frenchie's got a long, long row to hoe if he's going to have a chance at winning. And maybe he'll get his act together and make a comeback. We'll have to see. All right, guys. So with that, I think I'm going to sign off. I'm hitting about halfway around my second loop. So you guys are so patient to be listening to this whole time. I don't know if I'm going to do another one of these tomorrow or what I'll do. We'll see. Again, this is a different time with no Big Brother Gossip podcast. But again, this right here is something that I wouldn't normally have done last year. I wouldn't have done this because I would have been saving some of this talk for the Big Brother Gossip show. And I don't feel like I don't need to worry about that now. Now I can just talk about it if I want to. And I can go on whenever I want. And some of you will listen and some of you won't. But the only ones that are listening now are the ones that are listening, right? That's how it works. How do I want to say that? You know it if you're here. Everybody else, they've given up on me. All right, I'm out of here. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you have a wonderful Friday night. And I'll go back to the house and I may watch a bit of the feeds. I'm not sure. I may want to just take a break from them, though. But it certainly has been a trip getting to know everybody. And I don't know if it changed. Have I changed any of my opinions about any of the people now that I've watched almost an entire day of live feeds? I will say this, and this is going to be a bit of a, I don't know if it's a controversial statement, but I will say this. There is definitely the Cookout Alliance. It's something that I have seen before. The Black House guests are definitely have an unspoken allegiance to each other. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. It really is. They've got, I think, 6 in the house this season, most that they've ever had. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out as far as loyalty. What are they really saying and what are they actually doing? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out in the end. We'll have to see. I hope that nothing ever comes up in a negative way. I hope everybody has a fair shot. I've always hoped everybody had a fair shot. But it has made for an interesting tweak, a couple of things that were said today, nods and winks and exchanges, and I'm like, okay, yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. I would have to say right now that Derek X is in serious trouble. I just don't think he's got a friend in the house at this point. I mean, they're saying his number one ally is Travis. Well, Travis is in this 4-person alliance, and I think Travis is more than willing to get rid of Derek, because Derek is not on his team, if memory serves. He's on Brent's team, and Brent feels a little bit betrayed by Derek. So I think Derek's in some serious trouble. Unless he gets picked for the power veto and happens to win it, I would say odds are pretty high that he's going to go next Thursday. All right, with that, I'll talk to you guys later. I hope you have a good rest of your evening, like I already said. And see ya. Bye-bye.